Who dat to the Who Dat Nation, and welcome to the Dome Patrol podcast, your podcast for the New Orleans Saints here on the KB Radio Network. I'm your host, Kevin Reed, and week 13 for the New Orleans Saints is kaput. And you can make an argument, so is their season, as the New Orleans Saints fall to the Detroit Lions by the score of 33-28. Bringing the New Orleans Saints overall record thus far this season to 5-7. This was butt ugly. I'm not even going to go into the epic comeback, making this a one-score game late and having a chance to win, which we had multiple chances to win at the end of this game, but man, look, I'm going to be honest with you. When you go down 21-0 midway through the first quarter of a game, the odds on, I don't know how to look at it. Is it Detroit not as good as people think they are? Or are the Saints just that inept? I think it's a combination of both. I think after watching this game, Detroit is they're not ready for prime time yet. I think Detroit is a team that once they get into the playoffs are probably going to be one and done. Now, that's no disrespect to Detroit, because the New Orleans Saints not even going to make it to the playoffs. This is a bad team. Bad. When I'm watching this game, and I'm looking at the body language in the first quarter, I'm looking at the energy on the sideline from this team, and it was zero. It was none. It was no fire, no swag, no nothing from this team. And it showed early. I mean, this team gave up. This team gave up early. Now, what happened in the second half? I guess pride kicked in. That's the only thing I can think of. Pride kicked in. You might could say midway in the second quarter, pride kind of took in. Like, wait, hold up, we're getting embarrassed here. Let's go ahead and try to do something, because they were getting blown out of the building. And honest to God, I was sitting there and I was cheering for the Saints to get blown out the building. I wanted this to be 42-0. I know I'm disloyal. I'm a punk. I'm not a real who dat. I know that's what are you all saying out there, and I respect that. But you have to understand my motives. My motives is this team need to be exposed. This team need to be shown. Not so much for us here in the Who Dat Nation, because we've seen it. We've been crying for it. We've been calling it all out. But the front office needs to see this. Mickey Loomis, Gail Benson, Dennis Lauscher, all they need to see this. The rest of the world needs to see that this team is not going anywhere with Dennis Allen as your coach. And I'm speaking to Mickey Loomis, who last week got up there and pretty much gave Dennis Allen a vote of confidence. Like, okay, we're like he's coming back or whatever. He's not on a hot seat and all this other foolishness. I need you to realize this team is not responding to this coach. This team is not playing for this coach. You can tell. Second half aside, where they kind of got it together, 21 points later, after spotting the team 21 points, should I say. Yeah, it was embarrassing, man. Well, I shouldn't say embarrassing, because honestly, I don't care. I have zero emotion. Now, don't get me wrong. I got into it when the Saints started making their little comeback and got closer, got it within one possession of taking the lead. I was like, okay, they might pull this off. But then I got mad. I'm like, man, if they pull this off, I don't know. I don't know what I'll do. I'll probably throw a shoe at the TV, because it's frustrating to watch a team like this. It's frustrating. And the other point is, if they come back, if they would have came back and won this game, that would have justified Dennis Allen returning. That would have justified uh Dennis Allen being a competent coach, which he isn't. It is bad. This is bad. And there's other couple of points I want to touch in on here. Derek Carr. Well, before I get to Derek Carr, Jimmy Graham. Congratulations, Jimmy. Jimmy Graham caught a touchdown today because he played today for one play, and he caught a touchdown. And once again, it showed that what was the point of bringing him in? What was the point of bringing him back to this team? If he was hurt, they should have said he was hurt or whatever the case may be. Because to my understanding, he's been a healthy scratch for about 8 straight weeks or something like that. It makes no sense. You struggled in the red zone for weeks, and the one time you put him in the game, you go straight to him and he catches a touchdown. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. It's stupid. And that confirms that they're stupid, because for weeks you struggled in the red zone for no reason, and you have somebody on the team that can help you. Completely ridiculous. Going back to Derek Carr. Derek Carr played a pretty decent game today. Actually, Derek Carr played, dare I say, one of his best games as a New Orleans Saints, in spite of. I know his first pass was intercepted, but that wasn't on him. That was on Juwan Johnson. It hit him in the hands, and I don't know why he couldn't catch the ball. But anywho, it bounced out of his hands into the Detroit defender's hands. Derek Carr also fumbled the ball, but that once again wasn't on him. Offensive lineman ran into him and knocked the ball out of his hand. And so that's not on him, those turnovers, even though he committed them. But as we saw, he got knocked out of the game with a concussion, possible shoulder injury again, concussion again, and back injury. So I don't see him coming back next week, which leads me to my other point. Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston came into the game, and this is what frustrates me. And it wasn't Jameis Winston per se. It was the commentators. I don't know if y'all was listening to the Fox commentators. I think it was Daryl Johnson and I can't think of the other guy's name. My God, I've never heard a player get disrespected like I heard Jameis Winston get disrespected today. I felt so bad for Jameis Winston. I got so mad at the commentators. I muted. I turned the TV on mute. They were pooing on this man, and he hadn't even got under center yet. They were already starting on him. Oh yeah, Jameis Winston, he's the first quarterback in history to have 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions. That was 20 years ago. Why are we bringing this up? Why is this? Let the man play. Every play, every throw he made, they criticized. Now, that throw he made to Chris Olave that set up the touchdown late, that was a bad throw. That was a stupid throw. We got lucky on that. I can't defend that. But every throw this dude made, they were criticizing. They went as far as to say, yeah, for all of the Saints fans who were clamoring for Jameis Winston to be the starter, I don't understand why, and all this other stuff. Have y'all been watching Saints football? Obviously you haven't, because Derek Carr has not been looking good. Yeah, he looked better today, but he didn't look great today, and neither did Jameis Winston, to be honest with you, which proves my point from weeks earlier when I said neither one of these quarterbacks are the answer. Neither one. But that's besides the point. They went to clamoring for Taysom Hill to be the quarterback. Oh, why isn't Taysom Hill the quarterback? He needs to be in the game. I agree he needs to be in the game, but not as the quarterback, because when the 2 times he threw it in this game, they were bad throws. So nobody was looking good. But whatever. The disrespect was so thick. I was embarrassed. That's the part that embarrassed me. It wasn't this game. Because, like I said, I could care less if the Saints win or not because Dennis Allen is the coach. But man, the way they disrespected this dude was just embarrassing. I felt so bad for Jameis Winston because he doesn't have a chance. He doesn't have a chance because the narrative on him is that he's a turnover machine. That may be true, but so is Derek Carr. I don't hear that narrative with him. Josh Allen in Buffalo. I don't hear that narrative with him. You see a pattern here? That's what frustrates me. That's what upsets me. Keep that same energy with everybody. If you're going to bring up stuff in the past, you don't even have to go that far with Derek Carr. You could just go a couple of games ago. You could go last week when he went 0-5 in the red zone. But they didn't bring that up. No, they talked about how Derek Carr is just anyways. Look, I wish I can get on here and cheer on the fact that the Saints did show some pride. I can cheer on the fact that, they came alive in the second half. Defense kind of bowled their backs and really put a clamper on the Lions offense. This top ranked offense. This is the second best offense in the league. And this Detroit really didn't do anything today, to be honest with you. Aside from that first quarter where they put up those 21 points, after that, they did absolutely nothing. Yeah, they scored 12 points after that, but it was field goals. They scored field goals, and they did get a late touchdown that kind of sealed the game, I guess you could say. But that was after that fumble. That was off of the Derek Carr fumble, and they scored that point. So you take away those turnovers, which they scored 14 points off of, Saints win the game. If you take away the turnovers, because Detroit did nothing. Detroit did nothing. Derek Carr, I mean, not Derek Carr, what's the boy name? Jared Goff. Lord, he did nothing. That's how much I can't even remember his name. He did nothing. Now their tight end, on the other hand, what's his name? Laporta? Jesus. But a tight end has been killing the Saints all year. I don't know why we can't cover a tight end, but tight ends have been destroying the Saints defense, and today was no exception. But just to recap this game, the Saints did stage a massive rally, but a turnover and an injury derailed their efforts, allowing Detroit to leave with a 33-28 victory. The loss, the Saints' third consecutive loss, drops them to 5-7, whereas Detroit improves to 9-3. The Lions raced to a 21-0 lead in the first quarter, scoring on a 2-yard touchdown run by David Montgomery, a 13-yard pass from quarterback Jared Goff to Sam Laporta, and a 25-yard pass to Goff from Goff to Amon-Ra St. Brown. The Laporta score was set up from a Derek Carr interception that bounced off the hands of tight end Juwan Johnson. It was intercepted by Brian Branch, giving the Lions excellent field position. The Lions added a 26-yard field goal at the end of the half, their only points in the second quarter. The Saints were outgained 146-33 in the first quarter. That's yardage, people. Saints had 33 yards in the first quarter to the Lions 146. My God. But they did bounce back in the second quarter. Derek Carr led a 83 or 84-yard drive that was capped off by a 6-yard touchdown pass to tight end Jimmy Graham. Both of his receptions this season were touchdowns. He only has 2 catches this season, and both of them were touchdowns. Down 24-7 at halftime, the Saints scored 2 third-quarter touchdowns on short runs by Alvin Kamara and Taysom Hill to make it 24-21. The Lions added a short field goal to make it 27-21. Then Derek Carr fumbled the snap on the first play of the next drive. The ball getting knocked out of his hands by left guard James Hurst, who was pulling on a block. The Lions took over at the 23-yard line and scored on a 19-yard end around touchdown run by Jameson Williams, which made the score 33-21. Derek Carr, who was 17 for 22 with 226 yards, an interception, a fumble, and a touchdown, was forced to leave the game when he was hit by Detroit Lions defensive end Bruce Irvin, who drove Carr into the ground with 10 minutes and 18 seconds left to play in the game. The team announced that Carr was in concussion protocol and also had a shoulder and back injury. It's the third time Carr has been knocked out of a game from an injury this season. Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston alternated at quarterback and managed one scoring drive in Derek Carr's absence, capping a 1-yard touchdown run by Kamara, his franchise best, 53rd, and it made the score 33-28. Hill had 13 carries for 59 yards and a touchdown, while Alvin Kamara added 14 carries and 51 yards and a touchdown. Kamara also moved past Marcus Colston for career yards from scrimmage. Wide receiver Chris Olave had 5 catches for 119 yards. The Saints will play the Carolina Panthers next Sunday in the Dome to try to snap their 3-game losing streak. Our box scores today, starting with passing. For the Detroit Lions, Jared Goff, he was 16 for 25, 213 yards and 2 touchdowns. For the New Orleans Saints, Derek Carr was 17 for 22, 226 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Jameis Winston was 2 for 5, 41 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Taysom Hill was 0 for 2 today in passing. In rushing leaders, we have for the Detroit Lions, Gibbs, 8 carries for 60 yards. David Montgomery, 18 carries for 56 yards and 1 touchdown. Williams, 1 carry for 19 yards and a touchdown. For the New Orleans Saints, Taysom Hill was our leading rusher today, 13 carries for 59 yards and a touchdown. Alvin Kamara, 14 carries, 51 yards and 2 touchdowns. Leading receiver for the Detroit Lions was tight end Laporta, 9 catches for 140 yards and a touchdown. St. Brown, 2 catches, 49 yards and a touchdown. And for the New Orleans Saints, Chris Olave was the leading receiver today with 5 catches for 119 yards. Alvin Kamara, 6 catches for 58 yards. A.T. Perry, 1 catch for 30 yards. Team stats, beginning with first downs. The Detroit Lions had 18 first downs today, 9 by passing, 7 by rushing, 2 by penalty. New Orleans Saints had 23 first downs today, 12 by passing, 10 by rushing, 1 by penalty. On third downs, the Detroit Lions were 6 for 13. Saints were 6 for 12. On fourth down, the New Orleans Saints were 0 for 1. The Detroit Lions never went for it on fourth. Total plays, Detroit Lions 56 to the Saints 67. Total yardage, the Detroit Lions had 347 total yards to the Saints 362 total yards. Today, drives were dead even. Both teams had 12 drives apiece. Yards per play, Detroit Lions 6.2 yards per play to the Saints 5.4. Passing, Detroit 205 to the Saints 249. Rushing, Detroit had 142 yards rushing on 4.7 yards per rush. The Saints had 113 yards rushing on 3.1 yards per rush. This one is the biggest stat of the day, even though we lost. The Detroit Lions in the red zone were 3 for 5 today. The New Orleans Saints in the red zones in 4 tries were 4 for 4. Yes, the Saints were 100% in the red zone today. Unbelievable. I didn't know. I don't know if to cheer or just cry. That unbelievable. They were 4 for 4, 100% in the red zone today. Penalties. Both teams had 6 penalties apiece. Saints had 2 turnovers today. Time of possession. Detroit had the ball for 27 minutes and 50 seconds to the Saints 32 minutes and 10 seconds. With this loss, the Saints are now a full game behind the Atlanta Falcons in the division. Atlanta won today, and bringing their record to 6-6. Saints are 5-7, and also this is another NFC loss for the Saints. It's just I don't know what to begin with this. I really don't. Where how can you fix it? How can you fix it? Can someone please tell me? And I'm being honest. I'm not trying to be funny or crack jokes on this team because I need to know. I need to know, how do you fix this? Because you can see that this team is capable of doing something. They are capable of being a contender. But what's the problem? Aside from Dennis Allen being the coach, because obviously that's not going nowhere. They're making that abundantly clear. That's not going to happen. Besides Derek Carr not being the quarterback, because you let the commentators tell it, Derek Carr was the second coming of Drew Brees today. And I don't know what they were looking at. I need to know what's the problem? What's the missing ingredient here? I don't want to hear injuries. I don't want to hear that we didn't have Michael Thomas. We didn't have Marshawn Lattimore. We didn't have Marcus May and all this other stuff. When they were on the team, when they were playing, when they were healthy, we were still losing. So that's not the key. I need, please tell me. I want to know. I need to know what is the problem. Now, I know what the problem is. I'm pretty sure you know what the problem is. Nobody wants to say it. At least nobody on airline wants to say it. But honestly, honest to God, they need Dennis Allen needs to be fired. I mean, I don't know no other way to say this, Pete. He needs to go. And I don't like calling for people jobs like that. But he's not working. It's not working. I don't understand how a general manager or owner of a team can look at these games and really sit back and say, "Oh, we're all right. We're good. We just gotta tweak some things." Okay, that's fine. When you gonna start tweaking? Because we've been saying that for weeks. You didn't do anything at the trade deadline. You didn't bring in no free agents. You're not even trying to improve this team, if that's truly the case. But I don't even think that's the case. The pieces you have in this team is sufficient enough, in my humble opinion. But you can't coach them up. And in all of Derek Carr's flaws, I think if you get a decent coach in this building who is willing to work with Derek Carr, who is willing to coach Derek Carr, who's willing to put in the time with him, he might be good. Will he be Drew Brees? No, nobody will be Drew Brees, but he'll be all right. Let me use this as an example. Jameis Winston, right? Jameis Winston, when Sean Payton was coaching him, Jameis Winston looked like a MVP caliber quarterback. He wasn't turning the ball over. He was scoring in the red zone. One game he threw 5 touchdowns. Y'all remember that against Green Bay? The dude was doing it. He was doing it. But he got hurt, and that really derailed him. And then Sean Payton left. So that was the end of it. You know? And so he really hasn't had a coach. Same thing with Derek Carr. I think Derek Carr really didn't have good coaching in Las Vegas. And he just jumped out of the frying pan into the fire here because he doesn't have good coaches here either that would teach him, that would coach him. I don't know, man. This is it's scary to think that we possibly going to go through this again next year. We probably going the year after that. This is frustrating. Let's get into our grades so we can get on with the rest of our Sunday and try to enjoy it. Our grades, in case this is your first time listening to the show, if it is, welcome, by the way. I grade every unit of the New Orleans Saints team: offense, defense, special teams, and the coaching staff. We round all that up, average it all out, and we come up with an overall grade for the performance of the New Orleans Saints in week 13. Beginning with the offense gets a C plus. They get a C plus because of they did show some grit, some resiliency in the second half. They put together some really good drives. Derek Carr was looking good. I'm gonna give him his due. He looked decent, but I didn't. At no point did I feel that Derek Carr was going to come back in this game, even though he was looking like he was capable of it. But we'll never know. He got hurt. But everything else looked really good. But it took spotting the Detroit Lions 21 points before we realized that the game started. Oh, okay, let's start playing. Yeah, that's basically what happened. And so I give the offense a C plus. Defense gets a C minus. This defense, every week they get worse and worse and worse. They did all right today. This is why I was struggling with the C minus. I really want to give them a C, but I'm gonna go ahead and give them the minus because this tight end, they can't stop a tight end, and they can't stop the run either. But a tight end every game this season has been destroying the Saints, and you would think you can work on this, you can figure this out. And this is where Dennis Allen loses me, because Dennis Allen, you're the defensive guy here. You are calling the defense. Not only you're the head coach, but you call the defensive plays. You work with the defense exclusively, I guess you could say. And this defense has not improved. Actually, they got worse. And this issue with stopping the run and being able to stop and cover a tight end has been destroying this defense. And so, yeah, they get a C minus today. Special teams, they get an A. They didn't do anything wrong. I mean, it is what it is. They were there. Blake Grupe made all of his extra points, and yeah, that's it. They get an A. Coaching staffs gets a C minus as well. The way they was able to, like I said, turn it around, get this team focused and playing harder in the second half. I give it a little commending there for that, but the fact that you allowed this team to fall behind like that is utterly ridiculous and embarrassing, really. Just look at it as in its totality. You if you don't have to fight from behind every time, you might can win some of these games. I don't know. Overall, the New Orleans Saints today gets a C plus. They get a C plus. I don't know why I gave them a passing grade. I guess I'm impressed with their to save the embarrassment of this game. Because it was looking like helter skelter here. It was looking like scorched earth for a minute, especially in that first quarter. It looked like the Detroit Lions was going to go 70-0 on this team. And I was actually cheering it on. I was hoping they did it. I'm just being honest. I was hoping they did it because this team, they don't deserve to win if you come out with that type of energy. Anyway, let's move over to our MVP and LVP of the games. Who gets the game ball and who has to sit in the corner. Once again, another week where it's a toughie here. It is a toughie here. But I do have a game ball to give out to, and surprisingly, is not for anybody on the team. The game ball goes to Who Dat Nation who were in the Superdome and were booing Derek Carr every time he got on the field in the first half. And the reason it's not because they were booing Derek Carr. It was the fact that they were voicing their opinion. They were coming out and showing the world we don't like what we're getting. And that's cool. I respect that because that's the problem. See, we're not saying nothing. We have this passive aggressive attitude and we don't want to, you know, ruffle any feathers here. Just like at the end of this game, a lot of people probably going to be happy that, well, we cut it within one score. At least we didn't get blown out the building. No, it's embarrassing. If you invested in this team, that's embarrassing, man. The fact that this team jumped out on you 21 to nothing. I don't care who it is. I don't care if this was the second ranked offense in the league. There ain't no reason this team should jumped on you 21 to nothing midway through the first quarter. That's embarrassing. And the mere fact that you pulled within one score late in the game is embarrassing even more because it shouldn't have came to that. It shouldn't have came to that point, but it did. Yeah, I give it to the Who Dat Nation for voicing their dismay with the Saints organization and Derek Carr in that first quarter of the game. First half, really, it was the whole half. They were booing. Every time Derek Carr came in, they booed. When they took him out to put Taysom Hill in, they cheered. It was hilarious. It was simply hilarious, to be honest with you. Who gets to sit in the corner today? Dennis Allen. Dennis Allen. You didn't have this team ready to play. They were not ready to play when they came out of that tunnel at 12 noon this afternoon, should I say. Man, that's coaching. That's coaching. And so, yeah, man, that's it in a nutshell. The Saints fall to the Detroit Lions, which isn't a shock. I pretty much figured they were going to lose. Didn't think they were going to get monkey stomped in that first quarter, but hey, the New Orleans Saints are now 5-7. Next week they take on the Carolina Panthers in the Dome. Probably going to win that. Actually, I wouldn't be shocked if we lose that one too. Would not be shocked in the least bit if the Saints lose that game either. But, you know, whatever. We'll see. We'll see how the tide turns when we get to that. But right now, the Saints are still licking their wounds. We're on a 3-game losing streak, and it just does not look good. It does not look good. Now, granted, you have, after Carolina, you have the Giants, which is very winnable. The Rams, kind of winnable. You got Tampa again. That's going to be a little tough. Then you have Atlanta again. So, I don't know. I don't know. You look at them final 6 games, or 5 games, I should say, and I say the Saints can maybe 3 out of those last 5. I don't know. Will that get you into the playoffs? No, because you're going to have to win the division. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You're going to have to win the division in order to get in the playoffs. So, to put it plainly, the Saints have to win out from this point out and maybe need some help. The good thing is you have to play the rest of your division starting next week with Carolina. If you can win out in the division, you have a chance. The other 2 games outside of the division, the Rams and the Giants, I think you can get past the Giants, but the Rams probably going to be a little tougher. But you should be able to beat the Rams. But I don't know, man. You should have beat. Man, look, this is where I got to get out. I got to get from behind this microphone because I'm going to be going all day. Look, you look at this game, and I'm going to end it on this. If you look at this game, I think I started off the show with this. What did Detroit Lions do? Nothing. They didn't do anything out of the ordinary. It was pretty basic, pretty vanilla what they did. They didn't go out there and go up and down the field on the Saints. They really didn't. They worked off of short fields and for the most part, they had a couple of long drives, but no real big plays. against this Saints defense overall, but they didn't do anything special. And the Saints, they didn't do anything special, of course, but you know, you can see where the Saints could have won this game, even when they were down 21-0. So, uh, this is so frustrating. This team, my God. Anyway, I would like to know what you think. Do you think this is it, man? I don't know. I think this is it. Actually, I felt that way 2 weeks ago. But how do you feel? Honestly, I'm numb. Yet and still, I'm not even upset. Like I said, I'm just frustrated. It's frustrating to watch because I wanted to change the channel, but they made it interesting, so I had to continue to watch. Plus, I had to do this show, so that I needed that to help. But it was just frustrating to watch. Yeah, I like to know what your thoughts are, and do you think Derek Carr is done? This is his second concussion in what, 3 weeks? That's not a good look. That's not a good look. Let me know by email. Email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also look me up on all social media platforms. Another good way to get in touch with the show. Just search for the KB Radio Network. Also, KB Radio Network channel on YouTube. Like and subscribe if you don't mind. Don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to the Dome Patrol podcast here on the KB Radio Network. Once again, everybody, the New Orleans Saints falls to the Detroit Lions by the score of 33-28, giving them an overall record of 5-7 on the season. Oh man, the Saints, people, the Saints. But overall, I'm still gonna be screaming, who that?